Beware, it's happening. The Uncle Sam housing grab is happening. You're not gonna believe how they're gonna take the houses from Americans. You'll own nothing if this happens to you. Hi folks, it's Silver Dave at Local Silver Mint, and today I have a story to tell you about what was a prediction of mine, but now it's real. And we had a customer come in and that this happened to our customer. It's already happening to people. We have a guy, it happened to him. And if you watch to the end, we're gonna show you a portion of his story. This video is brought to you by the Silver Barter Bag. The Silver Barter Bag is the ultimate barter tool. A miniature canvas bank bag containing 10 1/10 ounce pure silver bars. Perfect for barters and trades. If you want to buy a dozen eggs or a basket of vegetables from your neighbor down the street, the barter bag is the perfect way to do it. Comes with this pull string release, and you can just open it up and then the bars just pour right out. Here we go. Take a look at them. Stamped on just one side to keep the production cost down and also allowing to make for the ultimate barter tool. If you want to buy your silver barter bag, you can buy it from your favorite dealer. Click the link below, or if you want to buy direct from us, we do have a $1,000 minimum, but you'll get the lowest price. You can call the phone number on the screen or email us to make your order. Thank you for watching and have a great day. But also, there's going to be a part 2 to this video, and we're going to deep dive into this guy's specific story and really show you more details. But first, I want to show you the overview, and then we're going to show you a clip of the gentleman that this happened to, and we'll hear a portion of his story. So I want to basically explain the premise of how the housing grab works and how so many Americans are likely to lose their house due to this, and that you will own nothing and be happy. Well, you may or may not be happy, but a lot of people will own nothing. A lot of people are going to lose their house because of this. Okay, now what is this that I'm talking about? What is it? What is the housing grab? All right, I'm going to explain. So first, we already know that there is a lot of inflation that is occurring. We see that the powers that be are producing more dollars at a rapid rate of speed, more so than ever before. And we see the prices of basic commodities, butter, cheese, bread, dinner at a restaurant, all these things are going up in price to a significant degree. And we can see that. We also see how many payouts are occurring at a global level. We see the US government giving out lots of money to their friends, and they're giving billions, with a B, billions of dollars to a litany of different countries. They're just giving them money. And of course, a lot of that has to do with the kickbacks that the politicians get for doing it. Yes, it is super corrupt. But why does that have anything to do with the housing grab? Well, what it has to do with the housing grab is that as they inflate the currency, we see the prices of things going up, including real estate values. And so as the purchasing power of the dollar goes down, your house, theoretically, well, I should say theoretically, your house is going up in dollar price. Now, your house isn't going up in value. It's actually that the purchasing power of the dollar is going down. So it would take more dollars to buy the house. Now, why that matters? Well, as this next few years transpires, they are likely to do what virtually every government and central bank in history has done, at the end game of that particular financial system. This system being the Federal Reserve System. It is ending. It is absolutely ending. It is a mathematical certainty. And when it ends, just like in Weimar Germany, just like in Zimbabwe, just like in Spain not long ago, just like in a multitude of different countries, they will inflate their currency faster and faster. And we will see the prices of houses go up. But you're not making money because as the prices of things are going up, you have to pay more money for basic essentials to survive. Now, how this relates to the housing is that your tax assessor is going to make a new tax assessment of your property as these values or dollar prices of the properties goes up. Now, the problem is that if you say, for example, you bought a house 10 years ago and you paid $300,000 for the house, well then the tax assessor comes and says, nope, this is actually a $600,000 house, and so we're doubling the taxes on the house. Well, now you have to pay twice as much in taxes. Well, you didn't just get a huge raise. The last thing to typically be affected by inflation is wages. And we can see there's some various economists that I like to follow that have talked about this. One of them, Milton Friedman, he had some really great points, Milton Friedman, and that the last thing to be affected by inflation is your wage. First, you see the prices of goods and services going up, and you see the costs of the things that you need going up, the prices of housing going up, but your wage hasn't changed yet. I mean, how long has the minimum wage been what it is in your state? How recently have they changed it? Chances are they haven't changed it in years. But you probably know that the cost of living has gone up. And so, as your property value goes up and your taxes go up, many Americans will not be able to pay the taxes. For example, the $300,000 house goes up to $600,000. Well, now you owe double the taxes. But then it goes up to $900,000. Then it goes up to $1.2 million. And now you've got this $1.2 million house, but the $1.2 million house, you've got to pay 4 times as much taxes on it. You can't afford to pay the taxes on it. And so they take your house, free house, they take it. And they take your house, or you have to sell the house in order to pay the taxes. So you have to lose the house to pay the taxes on the house. But then at least maybe now you get some money for your house. But 2 more problems. And that one of the problems is that when people are getting crushed for the burden of the taxes and of rising property taxes, and also being crushed by the cost of living, less people will be able to afford to buy the houses. And more houses will go onto the market. And so when your neighbor is selling his house also, and there's 2 houses for sale, for every 1 guy who could buy a house, you're going to have to sell it for a much lower amount of money. So on one hand, the tax valuation may be very high, but the actual amount that you sell the house for will be much lower, because you're going to have to lower your price lower than your neighbor, but he's going to lower his price lower than you, and it's a race to the bottom. And so many Americans are likely to have to sell their house to pay the taxes to get the small amount of money that they sell it for in a desperate sale. And so I see this housing grab happening, and not only did I predict years ago that this was going to happen, but also it's already started. And we're going to show you actual footage of a customer who came in here yesterday and he had to sell his gold to pay the property tax because the tax assessor came to him and they doubled his taxes. His property tax doubled. And he said, I don't have the money for this. He didn't have any extra money anyway. He was already tight financially. So he had to sell his gold to pay for the taxes. And the letter that he even brought with him to show us said, that here's this amount of money you have to pay. And if you don't pay in 30 days, we're going to start taking action to seize your property. So it's a horrible situation, but it's likely to happen. And so, not saying it's going to happen to you, hopefully you have a dollar inflation hedge that could help give you the resources you need to maintain your position on your real estate or your properties. And that type of hedge might be, are you going to guess what it is? If you guessed silver, you probably guessed right. Because if I had to make a second prediction, not only will the tax assessment values go up, and note, these guys are wasting money fast as can be, but they're also clawing at ways to get more money in taxes from Americans. And you probably even heard about the unrealized gains tax. And the unrealized gains tax is another aspect of this which could destroy property for Americans, could destroy almost every American's financial position. And that unrealized gain, if applied in this particular situation, is really messed up. And that's where your house that you bought for $300,000, you're paying a mortgage on, you barely have much extra money after your bills, but then they assess your house and say, okay, it's $600,000. Now your property tax goes up, but then if they apply unrealized gains, now they say you owe 40% of the $300,000 gain on your property. Well, you don't have that 40% at $300,000. Let's see, quick math, $120,000. You don't have an extra $120,000 to pay in taxes for the unrealized gain on your property. And so, in turn, people would get destroyed by this. And I feel like we are living in Atlas Shrugged, the book. If you've read the book Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, they kind of go through this scenario where the government just gets worse and worse, and they're just taking everything and taking control of everything and applying rules and regulations and price fixing to where it destroys almost every aspect of the economy, of businesses. And when they start applying price fixes, then companies just get out of the business. Because if the government demands that you have to sell a product for a price that you can't make money on it, no one's going to want to do it. So it literally would just destroy everything. And I feel like we're in that place now where Atlas Shrugged is playing out. But back to the real estate, if people see that those taxes go up and they have to pay it and they can't afford to pay it, they sell their property, but then they sell their property for a lowball number because lots of people are selling and very few people can afford to buy it. Well, it's a horrible situation. That's why I'm into having physical silver. I think that there'll be opportunities in the future, in the next few years, to buy property for pennies on the dollar because there'll be a lot of empty places. But you'll have to figure out how you can pay the taxes on it. That's going to be a huge problem. At least I wanted to show you this and just explain this housing grab and how it might work. So thank you so much. I think we have a question real fast here. Go ahead.
Can you explain how the property tax increase was already acting like an unrealized gains tax?
Well, yes. So in some ways, these things are similar because you're paying a tax on this gain that you haven't really gotten any money for. Like they're saying, you owe more taxes on this property, but you have the property, but you don't have any extra money. You didn't get any money out of it. So in a lot of ways, it's sort of similar to unrealized gains, but it's also a little different in that unrealized gains is a lot bigger of a percentage. So the property tax that you would pay is going to vary depending on what city and state you live in, but it's going to be a percentage that's typically a lot lower. Capital gains tax can be anywhere from 20 to 50% of what the gains are. And so if you have capital gains tax on unrealized gains, if your house goes from a $300,000 value to a $600,000 value and they want to charge you capital gains, that might be a 40% tax, which would be $120,000. Well, if you've got to pay $120,000 tax on $300,000 that you didn't get, that's a huge problem. So, I mean, we're watching this whole thing as it unfolds, and it's like I think the term banana republic. I mean, these guys, it's just unbelievable the extent at which the gratuitous waste and also the increase in costs, increase in taxes on Americans. I can't imagine, like, if Thomas Jefferson existed today, what would he say about the situation? I mean, these guys went and they slayed the redcoats. They didn't just like hold signs outside of their office, like saying, "Oh, we need you to lower the tax on tea." They didn't hold signs. They slayed these dudes. They laid them out. They picked them off from the forest. They picked them off in their convoys. They sniped them. They slayed these guys over a 3% tax on tea. 3%. How much do we pay on taxes now? I mean, it is depending on how you might calculate, you might say anywhere from 30% that we pay in tax to 99%. Now, I know that's a big range, but some people look at the taxes and they're only looking at like their income tax. But if you start adding all the taxes together, the property tax, the income tax, the federal income and state income tax, the capital gains tax, the license registration fee, all these other things that are taxes, and then take into account that every product that you buy has been taxed like 10 times by the time it got to you. First, it was taxed as a raw material that was imported. Then it was taxed in the manufacturing process, and the manufacturer had to pay all these taxes, and he had to pay all kinds of taxes and fees relating to his employees. Then the product is sold to a retailer. The retailer has to pay a bunch of taxes on his whole operation. Then you buy it, and you've got to pay a sales tax on it. And wait, there's more. That product had to be made and manufactured based on a series of ridiculous rules and regulations that were required by the government that may or may not actually be protecting the consumer. And so, one great example is the gas can. A government-approved gas can in America. Have you seen these things? I can't think of a bigger piece of crap than the approved gas can in America. I know my cameraman here is laughing. Hold it together. So, I know I'm like tangenting here. Maybe I'm just going to do this. We were talking about housing. I'm just going to dump this on you. Maybe you're my therapy. And by the way, thank you to my audience out there for for watching and being my therapist. I'm feeling better as I'm sharing this with you. I feel like I'm getting stuff off my chest. But here I was, filling up my ATV with gas, using an approved gas can, okay? This thing is a plastic piece of crap. You like turn the knob and you've got to lock the thing in, and then you stick it down in it, and then there's like a little plastic arm that holds it on so that it like pushes a plunger. And of course that little plastic tab breaks off roughly, you know, like within the first few months or so of having the can, and then it falls in your gas tank. Side note, but that's not even all of it, because I put this thing in and then the gas is coming out, right? And it's like glug, glug, glug. And I'm like, it doesn't have an air vent to let air in to displace the liquid that's coming out. There's no air vent for air to go in. How did they not think of this? How could they overlook? It's so stupid. I literally can't even believe how stupid it is. And then here I was at a farmer's house, a farmer buddy of mine, and he's going to fill up his tank on a machine. And he's like, Dave, he pulls this old metal gas can out of his truck. He says, Dave, you ever seen one of these before? And I'm like, oh, it's a gas can. He's like, oh no, Dave, this is an illegal gas can. You can't buy one of these anymore. And then he like unscrews little caps and he lowers a little metal funnel, unscrews the little air vent in the back, you know, and then he pours it into his machine and it's flowing in there nice and clean and smooth. It even sounds satisfying. It's like shh, just pouring that gas. No spilling, no glug, glug, glug. It's not doing it. And I'm like, wow, this thing is amazing. Well, guess what? That gas can is illegal. Don't get caught with it. Now you gotta buy this approved piece of garbage. So,
Dave, let me tell you what happened with one of these cans recently for me. I was doing a big power washing job. I fill the power washer up with gas, have to deal with all the hurdles of the gas can like you described. I set the gas can down, do my power washing, run out of gas, need to fill it up again. I had no idea that the gas can had become pressurized by warming up in the sunlight. So I have to flip it over and jam it in to the thing in order to activate the stupid nozzle, and gas, the government brilliant spill-proof gas engineering design in their brilliance explodes gasoline all over my freshly power washed deck. Gasoline explosion all over a piping hot power washer. Very safe and very foolproof and spill-proof. Thank you, Uncle Sam, for this brilliant innovation. Take my freedom away, and I take a gasoline shower. You know, might as well just lit the whole thing on fire.
Wow. So, we are in a really silly movie. So try to have fun, try to laugh about it. But the reason I said all this is that all these regulations, whether it's gas cans or a multitude of other things we haven't even mentioned, all those things make it harder to do business, make it harder to make a quality product, and they all influence the price of the goods and services you pay, which to me is kind of like a tax. If the government does things that makes your products lower quality and higher price, it's kind of like a tax. And so when you add all those taxes together, you end up with some number that it's tough to say what it is. But then the last piece is inflation. They're printing money like crazy. They're taking your purchasing power. They are literally like bleeding your life savings without even taking the count of your dollars, but rather instead taking the purchasing power of your dollars. And so it's another tax, possibly the biggest one of all.
Dave.
You add it all together, to culminate this point, when you add them all together, I think Americans are paying 90% in taxes. So like these guys went and they slayed the redcoats over 3% tax. Now I think we're paying 90% in taxes. is enough. And then look what they do with the money. It's horrible. So, just horrible. Now, what did you want to mention?
So, today is a voting day. The polls are open here in New Hampshire. Why aren't you telling your subscribers, oh, vote for good guy on team A, not bad guy on team B? How come that's not your solution to the problem?
So I have very little confidence in the voting system. I tend to think that it's rigged in the favor of the global power elite, and that they have people that they want, and the people that they want are the people that will win. That's one piece of it. The other piece is that even if you could elect someone who was good and meant well, I think that they would go in to a system that is designed to reward people who take the bribes and go along with the corruption, and designed to oust anyone who goes against it. So if you go in there and you try to go against the system, I think that you'll have a very short career. They'll either like do a scandal on you, or they'll plant stuff, or they'll do something that will ultimately get you out of that job. So I don't really believe that joining and participating in a highly corrupt system is going to help fix it. I don't really trust the politicians in general, and I don't advocate for one politician or another because of that. I more so think that it's not about changing the guy, because look, we change the guy every so many years, but nothing is better. It's worse and worse and worse. So I less so think it's about changing the guy, and more so think it's about changing the system. And also note that the system, it's designed to keep people thinking that by electing a new person, they're going to fix things. And that's the distraction, making you think, oh, but we're going to fix it this year because we're going to vote so-and-so in. Well, that's what keeps the system working. As long as people keep thinking that that's going to fix it, they won't look at the system itself. And it's highly divisive. Look at how you can't even have a conversation about some of these political issues. It has an emotional reaction. People get very upset. That's by design. If the political system was truly righteous and good, you would have these conversations. But they've designed it to divide us, divide and conquer. So I am less advocate to put some new person in a bad system, and more advocate that we need a good system to replace the bad system. So, that's, and then the other thing is that I can't trust any of these guys. They always say, they say this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to, fix this, and then they don't do it. So if you keep falling for the same trick over and over again, then you become the fool. There's a saying, and the saying is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, now we're like, fool me 500 times, fool me 501 times, fool me 502 times. And people are like, okay, but I'm going to vote again. But this time it's going to fix things. So that's my answer to that. If you watch this video and you are highly offended by what I said, my goal was not to offend you. I didn't even expect to address this, but we had this question from the audience back there, so I answered it. And I do think this information is important, and I would like you to have it because I hope it will help. So unless there's any more questions from the back.
Do you recommend people watch Milton Friedman's Free to Choose to learn more about the fundamentals about economics and inflation?
Yeah. I like a lot of Milton Friedman content. He's got some good stuff out there. And there's some other great economists too. Thomas Sowell, if I say his name right, Thomas Sowell or Thomas Sewell. He's got some really awesome quotes, and he's got some great content. So I would check into that. But with no further ado, we're going to play the clip for you right after this. of the gentleman who had to sell his gold to pay his taxes. And folks, I hope we're going to fix things. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I'm Silver Dave, local Silver Mint. If you want to buy our products, you can click the link below, or you can walk in our store, or you can call us. If you walk in our store, there's no minimums. If you call us, we do have some minimums. If you want to buy from the link below and the online dealers, they don't have minimums. So thank you so much, and remember to stack it up.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, welcome.
You're never gonna believe this.
What?
The state of New Hampshire just raised my taxes $6,000.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, this is ridiculous. If I didn't have any gold, they're gonna put a tax lien on my house.
Oh,
This is what?
that's horrible.
Dude, so anyway, are you buying today?
Yes, of course, absolutely.
You're saving me.